Okay, so the misconception that this activity will focus on are the three different ways that heat can be produced. So kinetic, chemical and electrical. So what I'm going to be doing here is exploring the house with the child and just showing her the different ways that we can produce heat by giving her examples to go through. Okay, so we've come into the garage, we've explored the garage, and I've already got these two stations laid out. One's just a rubber with a piece of paper, and the other one is a piece of fine sandpaper with a bit of timber. And we'll just go through and rub the rubber onto the paper and just demonstrate to the child how heat can be caused by friction from rubber onto paper, and then they can feel the heat on the paper or on the rubber, and they can try that out themselves. And the same thing can happen with the timber. And the child might even notice how they can feel the heat through their fingertips with this method. You don't have to work too hard to feel it straight away. And then I'll say that's kinetic energy caused from friction in the materials we're using. So we'll get on to the next station. Okay, so the next way of making heat that we're going to explore is chemical. Now the student or the child that I interviewed before already has a vague idea, or a pretty good idea about burning and burning wood. But I think it would be wise for us to just kind of actually discuss how a match works, how the chemical compound in the red tip actually creates the ignition, and then the matchstick is actually the fuel for the rest of the fire. So that chemical reaction just reinforces the fact of it being a chemical burn rather than just burning for the sake of burning. So we'll go like that, and she can see it burn. She can see how it turns to ash, and from there we can talk about it even more, we can discuss it further. And then the same system, well, we've already, in the interview that I had with her, we already looked at a stove. So what we can do is then just go and talk about how the gas is actually being, instead of it being the timber, we're actually igniting the gas. And the actual red tip is not actually the tip in here, it's actually the spark. So the spark creates that first sense of ignition, and then the gas is what creates the flame and the heat. So this should be quite a familiar thing for the child to get to grips with. And we'll get on to the next station. Okay, and then finally we're going to get on to electrical and the heat produced from electrical. So we're still in the kitchen, so we haven't really gone that far to explore it, but we can also look at other lights that are around and sort of look at that for electrical. So I've got these two plugged in. Now my child, the child that I interviewed, she has this misconception of heat travelling from the power point down the electrical wire to the consumer or the light or whatever it might be. So I think it would be kind of a good idea to kind of turn the light on and just get her to touch this and feel that it isn't actually going through, the heat isn't actually travelling through here, this is just electrical current. And then once this is warmed up, she should be able to feel the heat coming from there and just say, well, that electrical energy is going into the globe, causing the light, and it's actually the light, a byproduct of the light energy being produced that you can feel the heat. So it's actually not actually heat travelling from the power point up to here and causing the heat all along. That would be a really good example to use. The heat, obviously the toaster is a little bit different, but again we could still use the same thing. She's familiar with the toaster anyway, so then we just put that down and she can look inside with no toast and see those filaments heat up and show a bit of light too, a bit of a glow, which I can then reinforce with the light globe, and then she can feel over the top and feel it's getting hot. Done.